Shalom, shalom to everyone, everywhere. I am broadcasting to you from Yerushalayim, Jerusalem, and I'm here to speak about the teachings of Rabbi Avraham Yitzchak Kohen KOOK, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, who is more and more being understood to be the prophetic, rabbinic visionary of our time, whose teachings give us a very profound entry into the largest and deepest teachings of the Torah. And I'm hoping today to share some text with you and from his teachings, but if I could figure out how to load the screen. I was able to do it in this, but I don't necessarily see the option of sharing the screen in this particular framework. So I may have to simply just present the teachings in his voice, though I prefer having the text that I'm sharing from available for all of us to see. So if someone is able to help me load text, that would be good, but I don't seem to have that option. It's always only available, it seems, before we load the thing, and I couldn't start that way. So in every case, I want to start with one of his most prophetic statements, because the power of good. And so in a poem that he wrote, Et hatov ani choshek, it's the good that I desire. Its broad expanses entrance me. Its lips, its roses I kiss. Its glorious vision exalts me. Absolute good without limitation, without end, constriction, or boundary, that does not separate from anyone alive, and with its love fixes everything broken. Good for me and for all. Good without constriction, without bad or tightness. Good, full of pleasure for all, full of tranquility, without anxiety. Good forever, good right now. Good for every people and nation, for all who seek for the good and not for the bad, and the light and the delight as the one who's there. Tov lanetzach, tov l'sha'a, tov lechol am ve'am hatzofeh letova, velo lera'a, ve'or v'chedva, ba'asher hu sham. So may we be blessed to understand that the power of good is the most powerful power that we have access to, and that we are here to be the agents of of the absolute good. Rabbi Amenu and Rav KOOK was a major teacher for us and a role model and a leader of our epoch. He, very brief history, born in 1865. He was already as a teenager, the Chafetz Chaim knew of him, and when he was 23 years old, the Chafetz Chaim sat him down and said that you need to be the next leader of Israel. The way he framed it was, he said, I want to ask you something, but please agree before I ask you. The Chafetz Chaim tells you that, you're most likely to say yes. And the books write about Rav KOOK saying, of course, it can't be it can only be for my good. And so the Chafetz Chaim, and he agreed, and the Chafetz Chaim said, please accept the next rabbinical position you're offered. That Rav KOOK had already been refusing rabbinic offers. He wanted to spend all his time writing and teaching and in that environment. And the Chafetz Chaim said to him, you have to be a Rav B'Israel. You have to be the next rabbinical leader of Israel. And Baruch Hashem, he became that. They did a survey a few years ago, who's the person most influential on shaping the modern state of Israel? And Ben Gurion came in second. And Rav KOOK's influence is just becoming more and more and more known and experienced, and as his teachings begin to be known into the world. And for myself, as a child of Holocaust survivors who wanted to contribute to the light in the world, when my Torah study brought me to the teachings of Rav KOOK, I understood that this is the Torah understanding that both needs to be, it's the most advanced Torah understanding that we have, and it's very important that it will be known in the world. And I'm the Gabbai at Rav KOOK's home here in Jerusalem, and everybody's invited, and we have a daily learning shiur on Zoom at this particular hour, and replaced by this presentation today. So now let's, in the time remaining, focus in on content. I don't think I can bring up text, so I will present it orally, the old-fashioned way. But to understand Rav KOOK's significance, it's useful to look at Rav KOOK from the perspective of his main student, Rabbi David Cohen Rav Nazir, who took on the practice of Nazaritehood as a Nazarite spiritual practice, as a tool towards gaining prophecy. When he met Rav KOOK, he came to the conclusion Rav KOOK is experiencing that level of enlightenment, that connection with the divine that we've called prophecy, and he's really heralding the return to that in the history of Israel and through Israel to the world. And so he cultivated the spiritual practices that opened him up to prophecy. Is a fancy name, but it's a connection with the Creator. It's a conscious connection. And in 1922, he asked Rav KOOK, it's clear that there is great illumination with you. Is there also a system of study? And Rav Kook gave him the 8 notebooks that had been his writings from 1910 to 1919. 4 of them in Yafo, 3 of them in Switzerland, and the 8th one in London, the last year of the war, the last years of the war. And this is where he was recording his illuminations and his insights as they were occurring to him. And he gave the Nazir these notebooks, and out of those notebooks, the Nazir read through them and systematized and created a systemic presentation of Rav Kook's teachings under the heading of HAOROT HaKodesh, the Lights of Holiness, and it ended up being published in 4 volumes over the years. But in volume 2, he identifies the 5 principles that are foundational principles to Rav Kook's understanding of Torah and reality, and he divides the selections according to these 5 categories. So I'd like to give a brief summary, and anyone who can email me or so forth, send me a message, I can send you the material in a written form. But he basically identifies that there are 5 foundational principles of reality that are important for us to integrate both consciously and through our actions in order to, well, this is Rav Kook's foundational understandings, and if we want to learn Rav Kook's perspective, these are important for us to come to understand. The first one is HaKodesh HaKlali. That everything is holy. That the entire creation is a creation of holiness. And within that, he divides it that there is a holiness that builds, a holiness that destroys. Certainly the benefits of the holiness that builds, they're visible, but even those benefits of the holiness that destroys, they may be hidden, because the holiness that destroys is a process that destroys in order to build what is nobler than what has already been built. It's to build something more noble. So that is the process of history, and we must therefore take the deeper elements of good and holiness that are embodied in the lower and spiritual realms, and by elevating them we will then build a new world, a world pervaded by great illumination and great light. So that's the first principle, that everything is holy and everything is all that holiness means. It's of the divine, and as such, it's nothing in the world is to be taken as being insignificant. That every element of life is significant. And then we continue on, and principle number 2 is achayut ha'olamit, that everything is alive, the universal livingness. And Rav Kook puts it in very beautiful poetic terms, that you live in a world full of light and life, and everything aspires, longs, yearns according to a pattern that is adorned with holiness and girded with beauty. This life of ours is not a meaningless phenomenon. This entire creation is the living presence of the divine, in the sense that the name Elohim is corresponding to the gematria of Ateva, the natural realm, And it's an important thing for us to have our eyes open and all our senses open, that we're in this living expression of the divine creation that's Kabbalah speaks very clearly. It's here for our benefit, for our well-being. And then the third principle is, once we understand that everything is holy and that everything is alive, ha'achduta kolelet, everything is one, the all-inclusive oneness of existence. As Rav Kook writes, all existence is included in one point. And then, what is the main prayer? That the only Torah prayer morning and night is to chant the Shema, and the first paragraph, and perhaps the three paragraphs, but the saying the Shema morning and night, that's the foundation of our Torah obligation of prayer. And Rav Kook explains that the affirmation of the divine unity that we affirm when we call out loudly in a loud voice, Shema Israel, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, that the affirmation of the divine unity, it aspires to reveal the unity in the world, in humankind, among nations, and in the entire content of existence, without any dichotomy between action and theory, between reason and imagination. There is no separation between our acts, our thinking, our reason, our imagination. We need to understand that this is all, when we call out Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, that really means that it's all one, everything is united. And then Rav Kook says, as we grow spiritually, the dichotomies that we experience will be unified through a higher enlightenment, which recognizes their aspect of unity and compatibility. When we have our higher enlightenment, we recognize that everything is one, everything is compatible, everything is part of the all. And that's the third major principle that is important to integrate. Achduta kolelet, everything is one. The fourth principle, hatov haklali, everything is good. And as the creation, when in the story of the creation in Breshit, Vayar Elokim kol asher asa v'hinei tov me'od, the Creator saw all that He made, and here, behold, it is very good. The creation is defined as tov, as defined as good. And the whole dynamic of ra, of bad, well, it was our choice. We were told, you have a choice, do not enter into this realm. We decided to enter into this realm, and we're experiencing the consequences of it. But the basic teaching is, and that's where Kabbalah says that even the bad, its source is in the good, and that's a major area of Kabbalistic study, and Rav Kook has a lot of writings explaining to us how we need to understand the bad in order to in order to be agents of transforming it all, returning everything to its source in good. Hatov haklali, everything is good. And then the fifth principle, given once we have the understanding that everything is holy, everything is of the divine, everything is alive, everything is united, everything is part of the one, everything is good, and the bad is there in order to grow the good and to serve as a growth agent for the good. And this is our godly role in the world, is to transform all the bad into good. And it's a challenging task, and there's a reason that Israel is also the agents of Ra are very much threatened by Israel, and historically that has been part of our experience in many places and times. And we are centrally involved in the historical challenge of not giving Ra, it's taking the power away from the Ra, ultimately to transforming the Ra to the Tov. But the Torah is about, first you have to just stop the Ra. Without even, you can't transform it, but you have to prevent it from having any impact. And so capital punishment and so on are all part of that. And so then, given the fact that everything is good, then the fifth principle is Hit'alut ha'olam. Everything is rising, evolving, elevating. Everything is in a process of constant elevation, evolution, as it were. And Rav Kook has in the if anybody's interested in reading Rav Kook in English, the Paulist Press has by Rabbi Ben Zion Boxer. He has two books of his translations, which I think are the best ones available in English. There are other ones as well, and I'd be happy to send more. And there's an extraordinary translation that's now coming out by a woman scholar, Rachel Ebner, Yasher Kochecha, who's putting out a tremendous translation of Rav Kook. And so, but that's the fifth principle, is Hitalut Olam. Everything is rising, evolving, and elevating. And the Nazir, in his presentation of Rav Kook, introduces this section with a quote that from Moshe Chaim Luzzatto, the Ramchal. Rav Kook spoke about himself saying, I am a reincarnation of the Ramchal. And that's important for us to understand, because the Kabbalists teach that the Ramchal, one of the things that distinguishes Ramchal and certainly distinguishes Rav Kook, is that they're drawing from the light of the future and bringing it into the present. Most of rabbinic literature and so on is bringing the light from the past and bringing it into the present and adapting it and modernizing it, as it were. But Rav Kook and the Ramchal are drawing from the future and bringing the light of the future into the present in order to illuminate our path to the future. And in that section, the Ramchal is quoted, and of course it's also an elaboration of the teachings of Isaac Luria. The Ari HaKadosh Zecher Tzadik Livracha, he says that the worlds were created in order that they will rise from their level. The descent and the breakage that we experience is so that we can also experience elevation little by little until everything will rise to its wholeness. From the beginning of history, the wheel is turning towards one point, ha-shlemut ha'acharon, the final wholeness, the final fulfillment and perfection. And that's from Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto in the Gates of Wisdom. And we have quotes such as this, where Rav Kook says the science of the theory of evolution, which is now gaining acceptance and favor in the world, is the secular science theory closest in harmony to Kabbalah, that which they're able to distinguish in a small part of the creation is true on all levels. All existence is evolving to a higher level, to a greater understandings and greater enlightenment. So I want to bless us that we're able to integrate these 5 principles. HaKodesh HaKlali, everything is holy. Achayut HaOlamit, everything is living, the divine living. Achduta kolelet, everything is one. Ha'tov ha'klali, the universal good. And hitalut ha'olam, everything is rising, evolving, elevating, and we are moving towards the fulfillment of history, and in many ways the return of Israel to Israel, and everything that we're going through with all the challenges is serving that process of bringing the world to its wholeness and to its perfection. So may we be successful in doing so. B'mehera b'yameinu v'nomar amen. And in the 5 minutes we have left, I wanted to share a particular piece that Rav Kook wrote during the First World War, Notebook 7, and it's based on the Zohar teaching that the divine name, Yud and He and Vav and He, the four-letter divine name, is a shir merubah. It is a fourfold song. It's Yud, Yud He, Yud, He, and Vav, Yud, He, Vav, He, and it's from here that the 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 reaches 10, and the 10 spheres of the tree of life are unfolding. And that's a statement that we find in the Zohar, just defining Yud Ke Vav Ke as a fourfold song. Rav Kook took that and applied it to the 4 levels of our experience. And I'd like to complete this presentation by sharing it. And I'll try to English and Hebrew, but mostly English. Yesh shehu shar shirat nafsho. There is that part of us, the one that we sing the song of our own life. In ourselves, we find everything, our full spiritual satisfaction. Veyesh shehu shar shirat ha'umah. And then there is the one in that part of us where we sing the song of our nation, of our people. We emerge from the circle of our individual self because we find it without sufficient breadth, without an idealistic basis. And we aspire to the heights, and we attach ourselves with a gentle love im klaluta shel Knesset Yisrael, to the whole community of Israel. Together with her, we sing her songs, we feel grieved in her afflictions, and we delight in her hopes. We contemplate noble and pure thoughts about her past and her future, and we probe with love and wisdom Israel's inner spiritual essence. Veyesh asher od titrachev nafsho. And then there is the one who reaches towards more distant realms, goes beyond the boundary of Israel, lashir et shirata adam, to sing the song of humankind. Our spirit extends to the wider vistas of the majesty of all of humankind and humanity's noble essence. We aspire toward humankind's general goal and look forward toward our higher perfection. And it is from this source of life that we draw the subject of our meditation and our study, our aspirations and our visions. This is the universalist. And then, Yesh asher od mizeh lemala berochav yitnaseh. There is the one who rises towards wider horizons, uniting with all existence, uniting with all of God's creatures, with all worlds. Ve'im kulam omer shira. And we sing our song with all of them. And then there is the one who rises with all these songs together, the song of the self, the song of our people, the song of humankind, the song of existence, and we all together join our voices, Sing our songs with beauty, each one lending vitality and life to the other. Songs of joy and gladness, songs of jubilation and celebration, ecstasy and holiness. The song of ourself, the song of our people, the song of humankind, and the song of all existence merge within us. All merge within us at all times and in every hour. And it is this full comprehensiveness, Olahi liot shirat kodesh, this rises to become the song of holiness. Shirat Kel, Shirat Israel, the song of El, the song of Israel, in its full authenticity and greatness. The song of Israel is the fourfold song. It is the song of all existence together. And he completes the poem by saying, Israel is Shir Kel, the song of God, a simple song, a twofold song, a threefold song, a fourfold song. Shir Pashut, Shir Kaful, Shir Meshulash, Shir Meruba. The song of songs of Shlomo, the sovereign, in whom is wholeness. Shir Hashirim Asher LeShlomo, LeMelech Shehashalom Shalom. So may we be blessed as Israel truly to sing the song of Kel, the song of God, the song of each person, the song of each nation, the song of all humanity, and the song of all existence, unified together in love and goodness. And may we be blessed to have that, because Rav Kook and the teachings of the Torah make very clear that we are here in order to transform the planet to the complete goodness that the divine created for us to experience. B'mhei Rabbi Amenu v'nomar Amen. And with that, we will end the video. Thank you so much for your attention.